Hello, my juicy peaches, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Priestess Peaches, aka Jackie Lane, the creatrix of YourPeachyLife.com. I mostly support ambitious women in long-term relationships with love and pleasure, well-being and cruelty-free living, and business and wealth, so that they can live their most juicy life and co-create heaven on earth. Today, I'm going to be sharing something deeply personal. I'm going to be sharing my journey from living a destructive and toxic life to eventually creating Your Peachy Life, which is a brand all about holistic empowerment for women. It has been a wild ride for me, and I'm sure there are many of you out there who will resonate with parts of my journey. So I'm not going to go into my childhood in this particular video. I'm not going to be speaking about my childhood era. I'm going to be speaking about my adulthood era from the age of 21. And some of you may already know a bit about my journey if you've worked with me, if you've come across my brand or business, or if you've watched my videos for a while. If you're a friend or a family member, then you will know some of this story. But some of you may not know that when I was in my 20s, I'm now in my 40s, but when I was in my 20s, I used to be a stripper, and I was a stripper for 6 years. And I truly did live a hedonistic and toxic life of debauchery for a very long time. I'm not going to lie. And I used to say that it was awfully amazing, yet amazingly awful. It was wild, it was nuts. I experienced so much in that time, yet it was destructive, it was toxic, and it was dangerous. I could lie to you right now and paint a pretty picture and tell you that I was this empowered feminine young woman and that I was interacting with the empowered masculine and it was this amazing, empowered, beautiful thing. But that would be a lie, because for me personally, I had very low self-worth. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I was in a power battle, and I had a lot of trauma around the masculine, and I was in this power battle with men, and it was really wounded and really not beneficial for my health, my well-being, my soul, my spirit. And I basically got to see the wounded aspects of the masculine and feminine dynamic, the wounded aspects of pleasure, the wounded aspects of female sexuality, the wounded aspects of money as well. And the truth is, no matter how much money I was receiving, I was always broke, and I was really struggling financially, and it would just slip through my fingers and be gone because of this lifestyle that I was living. I had no concept of the value of money, and everything became very tainted in my mind, and I started to have very low standards for myself when it came to relationships with men and my body. I became like excessively open, and I let a lot of things into my life that were really, really not good for me. So the reason why my name is Priestess Peaches on YouTube and why my brand and business is called Your Peachy Life is because the name Peaches and Peachy has been in my life for a while. So back when I was a teenager, one of my previous boyfriends used to call me Peachy. And then when I became a stripper, they asked me, what do I want my stage name to be? And I hadn't even thought about that. And I ended up saying Peaches, and that became my stage name. And so Peaches was my name, and that became my name. Everybody knew me as Peaches. I was hanging around with other strippers and DJs and bouncers and strip club managers, and we would all go out in this group, in this kind of community, and everybody knew me as Peaches. So I would be then introduced to other people as Peaches, and we all just used our stage names. And so Peaches became my name for 6 years. And even some of my friends from school and from the past would start calling me Peachy or Peachy Jacks, and it was working its way into, my whole life. That became my identity. And the truth is, even though I called myself Peaches, I actually felt like a rotten peach. And there was an ongoing joke back then that I was this rotten peach rotting in my peach patch, which was my flat. I used to live down in Brighton. That's where I was working as a stripper initially. And then I moved to London and I worked there for a while. But there was this ongoing joke that I was this rotten peach festering in my peach patch. And this is because I had gotten into drugs, I'd gotten into drinking really heavily. I would often, it would be very rare for me to be sober, to be honest, and I was high all the time. I had this insatiable appetite for just getting out of my body, out of my mind. And yeah, I was either on a come down or I was high. And what started out as like a real social thing ended up being quite an insular thing, where I would just be in my flat taking drugs, and either with a small group of people or even by myself. And it became a massive part of my life. And so I became rotten peach, festering away in my rotten peach patch. And the truth is that my mind, my body, my spirit was struggling and was damaged by this and traumatized as well. At the time when I was a stripper, I was in a situationship with a man slightly older than me, and that came to an end, and I was actually heartbroken at the time. I had my heart torn into pieces. I had been in this situationship knowing the truth of the matter, but being in Delulu land. And when it came to an end, it broke my heart. It shocked me to my core. And I had to get out of Brighton because this particular person was very popular, very well known in Brighton. And literally everybody would always be saying to me, oh, I saw so-and-so. Oh, I saw. Every time, anytime I went out, anywhere I went, I would just hear this person's name and I was just like, oh my goodness, get me out of Brighton. And so I moved to London and I started stripping there, and I realized, no, I need to get the heck out of the UK. And so I saved up some money and I went traveling to Thailand. When I was in Thailand, I traveled around the islands, and initially I was just doing more of the same. I was getting with men, taking drugs, drinking, and getting myself into some very risky, dangerous situations that were even life-threatening. And it was like the risks and the dangerousness of it all was like getting worse and worse, because it was like telling me to stop. And yeah, I met some amazing people traveling, and it was so good. It was so much fun. And I don't regret a thing. I absolutely loved that experience. But I kept getting sick. And this was something that had started to happen when I was in Brighton, when I was in London. My body kept getting sick, and I had some issues that were preventing me from working as much and from making as much money. And I couldn't go into work. And these things were really debilitating, and this kept happening when I was traveling as well. And so for the last little stint of my travels in Thailand, I decided that I was going to go teetotal, and I booked some classes at a yoga school there, and I booked like a course, like a session, like multiple sessions of yoga classes. And I ended up having a spiritual awakening whilst in these classes. And when I was in Thailand, I learned about Tantra, I learned about yoga, I started having this spiritual awakening, what I say, remembering, and it was when I was completely stone cold sober. So I had a lot of spiritual experiences when I was high, when I was on drugs, but I could never trust them because I was high, whereas this time I was completely sober and I was feeling energy. I was experiencing so many amazing things, and it really opened up my mind. And I had a rude awakening as well, because I had guidance come through, or just an inner knowing that if I carry on the path that I was on, then I'm going to die. I'm going to end up in a gutter. It's not going to be looking good for me. My body was shutting down, like my spirit had been broken. And sorry. I don't know why this always, like when I share about my story, this bit always gets me. I think because it was such a turning point in my life where I heard loud and clear when I was completely sober, like, you're going to die if you keep on this path, like it's not going to be good. And that was a pivotal point in my life. And I realized I need to sort this out. I need to get out of drugs. I need to get out of this lifestyle. I need to get away from stripping. I need to get away from situationships and toxicity. And I need to become empowered. I need to become an empowered woman, because this isn't working for me. This isn't serving me. And so this awakening was so profound that it gave me the strength that I needed to start making changes. And I can't say that everything just switched like that and I changed everything overnight. It wasn't like that for me. It took me a good couple of years to get out of drugs. It took me time to change. And I was on this journey of health and well-being. I was on this journey for myself of detoxing and trying to be healthier. And I decided to enroll in the College of Naturopathic Medicine. When I got back from my travels, I had these visions when I was in these yoga classes of me being a medicine woman and using plant medicine and herbal medicine and getting back to nature. And it was so vivid, and it was so, it felt like such guidance that when I got back to the UK, I just enrolled in the College of Naturopathic Medicine on the herbal medicine degree diploma. It's at degree level. And I didn't really know what I was getting myself into, to be honest. I just thought, okay, I've got to follow this. I've got to follow that. That's the only thing that felt better, you know? And I thought, okay, that would be cool. Maybe I can do that. And really it was more of a personal journey than just to be, not just to be, but to be a herbalist for others or a naturopath for others. It was for me to heal myself. And I realized that as I was going along, because I was learning all about anatomy, physiology, pathophysiology, biochemistry, phytotherapy, all the herbs, all the natural ways, Chinese medicine, Indian medicine, acupuncture, just a foundation in everything, and then specializing in herbs, and also receiving my naturopathy diploma as well. And during this time when I was at college, it was a really messed up transitional time for me, because I was still stripping. I was doing the weekday course and I was stripping 3 nights a week. I was still taking drugs. I was still going out partying now and then. And I was then going to college, learning about health. And as you can imagine, it was this like night and day. And I was hanging around with, at college, I was hanging around with all these like what I deemed as health freaks at the time, like all these health freaks that were just into nutrition and you know, natural medicine and being really health conscious and environmentally friendly and sustainability and all these things that I had never even really considered before. I was among these people who were highly conscious, yet I was still living this other life, and I was like 2 people. And initially when I was at college, I told everybody to call me Peaches. But then I needed to take a year out of herbal medicine because I decided I cannot keep stripping. I cannot do this job anymore. It wasn't even just my own decision. I was getting sick all the time and I just wasn't earning enough money because I couldn't go into work, and I was so exhausted studying and then trying to go to work at the weekends, and my body was just, it was just too much. So I ended up getting a normal job as a PA, a personal assistant for somebody. And then I was doing the weekend course, But in order for that to happen, I had to wait a year and then enter into a different class. And when I entered into that class, everybody called me Jackie. So there was a real transition. I will always remember there were 3 really significant moments at college that stood out to me and that helped me on my healing journey, or were part of my healing journey. The first moment was when I was in a class. I can't remember what it was. It might have been biochemistry or pathophysiology. I can't remember. I was still high. I was high on cocaine and speed, and I was sat in this class and we were learning about the effects of various narcotics on the heart. And there's me sat there on said narcotics, off my face, trying to stay awake, trying to focus, having just done drugs in the toilet at a health college, right? That whole thing caused me to have a huge panic attack. I went to the toilet, I was sick, and I was having a huge panic attack. And I was like, I cannot do drugs at college anymore. This cannot happen. And this was one of the things that also made me change jobs, like stop stripping, because I couldn't maintain both of the things. So that was one pivotal moment. So another one was we were doing a clinic session and we were learning how to take pulses and read pulses and things like that. And for whatever reason, I had a complete trauma release. What I know now was a complete trauma release in that class. Something triggered me. I don't know what. It was just being there among these lovely people. I was having this healing, this deep spiritual healing, physical healing, emotional healing, and I had this huge trauma release. I had this wave of emotion just rise up within me, and I just started sobbing and sobbing and sobbing, and this went on for probably about 20 minutes. I sobbed in front of the whole class, in front of the tutor, so loudly that I was taken into the broom cupboard and the door shut. We were all in there, huddled in there, like myself and a couple of my friends were in there, and they were just like, it's okay, just let it out. And then come out the cupboard, and other tutors and students from other classes are coming down the hallway, like, what the heck is going on? They can hear this sobbing, and it's just me, just makeup down my face, just sobbing in the corridor. Everybody saw. It was so humiliating and embarrassing, but I just didn't even care, because I was just deep in this process, and I couldn't even stop it. It was just coming out, and I felt like there was this like returning to innocence within me, this returning to, it was like a homecoming. I was releasing so much darkness from me, and it just so happened to happen in front of everybody at college. So great. So the third moment was when we were in a class learning about the mitochondria within our cells. And I literally sat there with my mouth open, catching flies. I could not believe the intelligence of our bodies, the intelligence. Oh, I couldn't believe what was going on in my body, and I just had this newfound respect and reverence and awe and amazement at life and the universe and the world and the planet and people and our bodies, and I was just blown away, absolutely blown away. And it changed my life. That moment changed my life, because I suddenly felt, I don't know how to explain it, but like the consciousness within me, the intelligence within my body, and the complexity, and it made me feel so much respect for my body. And obviously I had disrespected my body for a very long time. And so over the course of those 5 years at the College of Naturopathic Medicine, I completely changed from who I was going in to who I was coming out. And everyone said if there was an award for the person who was most changed, it would have gone to me, because I was this druggy stripper coming into it, and I've come out just a completely different version of myself. And really, that was what that journey was about for me. Not only learning these things to help others, but it was learning these things to go through that process for myself, and to become empowered within myself, and learn how to respect myself, love myself, honor myself, and learn how to nourish myself and use nature's medicine to do so. During my college years, I also took my Reiki level 1 and 2. Like I said, when I was in Thailand, I was opening to energy and my natural healing abilities, and I was experiencing energy, and I was meditating, and it was just amazing. And I carried that on when I got back. And so eventually I wanted to look into energy healing, because it had started being becoming part of my way of being and experiencing the world. And I was sensitizing to my energetic nature, to our energetic nature. And so I took my Reiki level 1 and 2, and that really opened me up a lot more as well to the mystical and magical realms of our existence, and just the miracles that can happen through understanding energy. And just backtracking a little bit, when I was in Thailand, I had a fortune teller read my fortune. She was just walking around reading people's fortunes, and she had mentioned to me that I'm not going to be eating animals anymore. And at the time I was like, what? No way. But then I actually had really bad food poisoning when I was in Thailand, and after that I was really put off eating any animals. Initially it was what people say is red meat, so cows and pigs, and I didn't want to eat any. I felt really icky about eating animals after I'd had that food poisoning. And when I was at college, I was detoxing. I went on a juice fast retreat at Simply Healing in the UK, which is like a really gorgeous retreat place. I was detoxing my body, and I started to cut certain things out, and I was trialing and erroring with things, and just seeing what worked for me and what didn't. And I was becoming more and more plant-based, and I used to get these huge, what's called sebaceous cysts all the time. And basically when I had cut out dairy, my skin was glowing, and they completely went away. And I realized they were very much hormonal. And so I cut out dairy. I wasn't really eating any animal flesh at that time. I had already started to change my diet just for health reasons. And it was around my final year of college where I came across Freely, the banana girl, on YouTube. I'm not saying I rate everything about her lifestyle, but at the time she had these videos about what's really in your burger, what's really in your sausages, and the animal agriculture industry and factory farming. And once I saw that, I could not unsee it, and I pretty much went fully vegan overnight. And I really noticed that becoming vegan really aligned for me. It aligned my true values, my true ethics, my true morals, my standards, my love for animals. Something aligned within me, and I started to feel like I was thriving. I started to feel energized. I felt really good about my choices. And so there wasn't this constant kind of disconnect. There wasn't this constant like energy leak in a way. And so it just freed up this energy within me, because I was living in alignment to like my true compassionate, kind-hearted nature, like my true highest nature. And it changed my life, and it bettered everything, and it kind of amplified everything, and also complemented everything else as well. And something else that was coming up in my life around this time was my own sexual healing. And so some of the health issues I was having before were female reproductive issues. They were hormonal issues. They were female health issues, and things that were really scary. And I had heard of Tantra. I'd heard of Tantra even before Thailand, just due to past people in my life mentioning it. But when I was in Thailand traveling, I heard a lot more about Tantra just through like the yoga community that I had been dabbling in. And it was always something that was of interest to me. And so it was around the time where I started to live a cruelty-free life and be vegan that I also realized that part of my health concerns and issues and problems were not just due to the food I was consuming, but it was due to sexual issues and sexual traumas and things like that. And so I started to go on a sexual healing journey using Tantra as a basis for that. And it was really around this time that I found this deep self-respect. Like I said, I'd already found this respect for my body, but it was like a deep respect for myself in the sense of I do not want to be in relationship with anybody who is toxic, with anybody who doesn't value me or doesn't bring to me what I bring to them. And I had this shift within me around love and relationship and sexuality and my relationship with my body and pleasure and the masculine. I had a deep healing around that. And it was not long after that, or around that time, that I met Rory, my beloved, my divine partner, my boyfriend, my man. So when I met Rory, I was still carrying a lot of the wounds from my past. I had to learn how to communicate consciously. I had to learn how to integrate my past wounds and heal and show up as a better version of myself with Rory, because it was really like a mirror for me being in that relationship. It was a mirror for both of us. It always is. But I'm just speaking for my side of the journey. I had to learn how to become more empowered and understand the masculine and feminine dynamic and understand empowered communication skills and conscious monogamy. And monogamy was something that I had never believed was possible before. And when I met Rory, I was changing and our love just grew deeper and deeper. And it changed me, it shifted me. And I realized that my lack of desire for monogamy before came from a lot of trauma and fears and wounds within me. And I'm not saying it's like that for everybody, but it was like that for me. And actually, what I really wanted was this deep love with one divine partner. I had to learn about the psychology of men and women. I had to learn a lot of things. So along the way, I worked with healers, I worked with coaches, mentors, gurus. I did trainings, courses, programs, read books. I became an expert in this field. I became an expert as well. And I started to specialize in female sexual health, and I was a practicing herbalist and naturopath. I soon realized that I didn't want to just have a patient now and then just come to me for one session and try and cram everything in that one session. I started to realize that I needed to expand my vision and create containers for people. And I realized that I was naturally mentoring people. I was naturally a consultant, a coach, a mentor, a guide, a healer. And so I started to create packages and containers and charge different rates and raise my rates. And I soon realized that I need to get savvy about business and marketing, and I went on an entrepreneurial journey. So initially my brand was called Peachy Health, and this soon transitioned into Your Peachy Life, because I wasn't just focused on health. I was adding in all the parts of my journey and my experience and my trainings into my business and my brand, and I realized that Peachy Health was just one branch of my brand. And so it became Your Peachy Life, a lifestyle holistic empowerment brand mostly for ambitious women in long-term relationships, that supports women with love and pleasure, well-being and cruelty-free living, business and wealth. And I have never subscribed to this belief that you have to have just one niche. That's not how the feminine works. That's certainly not how I work. And I don't like that. I don't want to believe that. I don't want to act on that or move with that. I want to have multi-passions and have variety. That is just how I personally thrive. I just want to share a little analogy with you about the peach tree, and this is what I teach women when they come to me for support around their business. I teach about the peach tree being your business and your brand, and that your roots of the peach tree are your deeper whys, your bigger whys, your deeper mission behind what it is you're doing. And for me, my deepest whys is to help heal the abuse of innocence and sentience on the planet. And I truly believe that by creating highly conscious women, that is affecting the collective consciousness and helping us teach new generations to be highly conscious and empowered within these areas that I feel that I am qualified in, that will help those deeper whys, that will support those deeper whys of my mission. So those are the roots of my peach tree. The trunk of the peach tree is your branding, and the bark is all the elements of your brand. And then you've got the main limbs of your peach tree, and those are the topics that you support people with. And then you've got the branches, which are all the elements that are included in those topics. So for me, there's love and pleasure, and it's the masculine and feminine dynamic within relationships, conscious communication, conscious monogamy. It is sacred sexuality, the masculine and feminine dynamic within the sexual space, for instance. Then you have the flowers, which are your offerings, your courses, your programs, your products, whatever that is, the things that you're offering. And then the fruits is what people receive and what you receive from your brand and your business. That is the nourishment that you receive, the fruits of your labor. So the money exchange and the transformation that others receive, that's the fruits. And then the leaves are your clients and customers. So the peach fruit, if you chop it in half, it kind of looks like a woman's yoni or vulva, right? It's also, a whole peach is the booty, and it is succulent and juicy and ripe, and that all represents like the sexuality, the pleasure, the feminine, the woman. And then the peach also represents the masculine and feminine dynamics. So we've got the inner core, the sturdy inner core, and then we've got the juicy middle, and then the soft, inviting outside. And this is also, I use as a metaphor or an analogy for empowered feminine communication skills as well, and about your boundaries and your standards and wearing those on the inside. And I use the peach for so many different things. It represents plant food, it represents our connection with Mother Earth, and it represents abundance and also sustainability. So as you nourish and feed your peach tree, it feeds and nourishes you and your community. And so that's my little peach and peach tree analogy. So I can say now that although I am definitely not perfect and I am still a student, I'm a forever student, I'm always learning, always growing, and I make mistakes, and I am my human self. I can honestly say to you that I am no longer a rotten peach, and I am sat here before you as a juicy, succulent peach. And this is the journey of my brand and how I built and created Your Peachy Life. And I really created this brand because I want to help other women to live their most juicy lives and co-create a heavenly world. So if you have ever felt like a rotten peach in any way, if you have been feeling disconnected from your body, feeling unhealthy, if you have been making choices that aren't beneficial for you, if you have been feeling stuck in your business, in your relationship, in your life, if you are looking to become more empowered within yourself and thrive and become a juicy peach, then please know that transformation is possible. If my journey resonated with you, then please let me know in the comments. Please do share about your journey in the comments. I would love to hear about your journey and where you're at the moment and where you've been and the hurdles that you've overcome. And please don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel so that you can become part of this juicy community, and feel free to share this video with anybody who needs a bit of inspiration or needs to hear of someone else's journey so that they don't feel so alone in their journey right now. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really do hope you got some value out of it, and I really do appreciate you being here. This year, I'm going to be uploading every Wednesday and every Saturday, and once a month I am going to be doing a sacred practice. So we're going to have well-being Wednesdays, we're going to have sexy Saturdays, and once a month I'm going to have sacred Sundays. So that's how this is going to go for the foreseeable future. I'm wishing you an amazing day, and remember to keep it juicy. Mwah! Bye!